Hello, and thank you for joining me on our latest webinar. Today, we'll be focusing on the competency gap. Today's topic will discuss what the competency gap is, what factors are contributing to it, who it affects, and how competency management data can be used to improve the business. Before we get into it, a little bit about myself. My name is Alfredo Perez. I'm a systems analyst for Hula Partners. I've been working with the company for almost 2 years, focusing on the development, implementation, and support of our SaaS solution competency management system, Kahuna. For the competency gap, traditionally, there's been a divide in the thinking and processes between HR and operations. HR gathers human capital data, focusing on talent acquisition, learning, career development, and workforce planning. Operations tends to focus on safety, risk, quality, shift and project planning, and execution. While both sides are looking at data focusing on employees, there's always been a gap, so to say, in the information required. The competency gap refers to the divide between both sides of the information where there's a missing common element to join the processes on both sides, and we see that as competency management. The need for competency management has been growing increasingly in the past few years. There have been several factors which have increased the need for competencies, and we will see those as the retirement wave. So the increase in retirement eligibility that's been affecting both sides of the organization and causing a disconnect between the operations tactical needs and HR's talent focus. Increasing regulation. In organizations with higher safety or environmental risk, regulations are requiring transparency to ensure that people responsible for those tasks are qualified and capable of conducting them to a sufficient degree of competence. Contract workers. The rise in the contingent workforce has led for a need to ensure that both talent and operational data be stored and tracked for contractors as well as employees. And traditionally, HR is focused more on employees, and the contractor data might not be in the system. Millennial expectations. With the shift in workforce demographics, a larger portion of the workforce is made up of millennials, and this is causing a need for increase in employee engagement and transparency around career paths. So let's take a step and think, what is competency management? A high-level definition, we see competency management as the entirety of maintaining, assigning, assessing, and tracking the knowledge, skills, behaviors, and experience necessary to perform specific activities safely and efficiently. Through assessments, we can then identify and close gaps to ensure compliance. And then competency management becomes the foundation for all your talent management processes. So this is what helps align the operational strategic focus and the overall HR business focus. If you use competencies as the foundational currency within your talent management processes, you increase the effectiveness of those processes by having a standard by which to measure users. Here's a few examples of how we see this working. For learning management, with competencies in place, you now have the ability to drive learning demand through competency gaps. This method of exposing learning through the context of work processes will increase efficiency in training initiatives. This gives the organization the ability to provide training when it is required, and it will allow for analyzing the effectiveness of learning and closing competency gaps. So you no longer have the need to do the blanket learning initiatives to everyone in the organization. You can have more focused and targeted learning based on the specific needs of the individuals that need to close a gap. For career development, competency management allows for the visualization of development paths and the identification of critical competencies in the journey. These critical competencies can be used throughout the other talent management processes as well. And then another benefit is having the ability to set specific time-bound competency development goals or develop against aspirational competencies. This gives the workforce the ability to visualize their career path, ensure they're on track with their current requirements, and also have a look of where they want to be in the future. Succession management. Using competency management gives you the ability to identify high potential groups based on competency development, and allows for the identification of critical roles by aligning the business strategy to the competencies required to meet those goals. Workforce management, or workforce planning, With a continuous focus on competency development, You gain the ability to create a workforce planning scenarios with defined competency expectations by accessing the talent supply data based on the demand scenarios. All this can be done in either a micro or macro level, depending on the organization strategy. Whether you're planning a shift project and need to identify who in your workforce is best suited to complete the required task, or you're planning to align to the long-term business strategy or focus, having the competency data in place will give you the required foundation. So finally, with competency management filling the gap between HR and operations, you gain the ability to ensure the right people in the right job at the right time. Planning, developing, management of the workforce through the competency management allows for standards of measurement, competencies, which allow both HR and operations to ensure compliance and efficiencies and respond to resource requests. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. If you have any questions or would like more information about competency management, don't hesitate to reach out.